If Shawn Combs watches this, what do you think he's going to feel?
Like, wow, this is amazing. I think he's going to say this is the best documentary I've seen in a long time.
When Netflix released Shawn Combs, The Reckoning, it didn't arrive quietly. The 4-part documentary landed like a shockwave, immediately dominating online conversation and forcing viewers to confront a side of Sean Diddy Combs that had never been publicly seen before. This was not a glossy celebration of success or a nostalgic look at a legendary career. Instead, the series positioned itself as a serious, uncomfortable examination of power, control, and collapse at the highest levels of the entertainment industry. From the opening moments, it becomes clear that this documentary is different. The tone is heavy, direct, and intentionally unsettling. Viewers are pulled into a world of late-night phone calls, closed-door meetings, tense conversations, and mounting fear. The series does not rush through events. It carefully builds a timeline that traces Combs' rise to fame, the influence he held over artists and employees, and the series of allegations that ultimately led to his arrest and conviction. Every episode adds another layer, making it harder to ignore the gravity of what is being presented. One of the most shocking elements of The Reckoning is the never-before-seen footage, filmed just days before Combs' arrest. These clips immediately became the centerpiece of online discussion. In one of the most talked-about scenes, Combs is shown in a heated exchange with his legal team. The room is tense, his voice strained, and the pressure is unmistakable. He expresses frustration and fear, insisting that he needs people who truly understand the darkest and most complicated side of the business. It is a raw, unfiltered moment that strips away the polished public image and exposes a man who feels his control slipping away. What makes this scene so powerful is its intimacy. This is not a staged interview or a carefully prepared statement. It feels accidental, almost intrusive, as if viewers are witnessing something they were never meant to see. The camera does not look away as Combs vents, interrupts, and struggles to process the reality of what is happening around him. For many viewers, this moment alone reshaped how they understood the entire situation. Another piece of footage that surprised audiences takes place in Harlem, where Combs appears in public surrounded by supporters. On the surface, the scene looks familiar. He smiles, shakes hands, takes photos, and plays the role he has perfected over decades. But the moment he steps away from the crowd, the tone shifts. He immediately asks for hand sanitizer and explains that he has been hugging too many people and needs to clean himself right away. While seemingly minor, this moment struck many viewers as revealing. It hinted at anxiety, paranoia, and a desire for control at a time when everything else felt uncertain. As soon as the documentary was released, one major question dominated public discussion: how did Netflix obtain such private footage? Combs' team quickly responded, accusing the platform of using stolen material. According to his spokesperson, the footage was part of a personal archive that Combs had been recording since he was 19 years old. They claimed it was commissioned for his own long-term documentary project and was never meant to be shared with anyone else, let alone included in a Netflix series. The statement described Netflix's use of the footage as unfair and illegal, arguing that the platform had no right to broadcast such deeply personal moments. This accusation added another layer of controversy to a project that was already generating intense reactions. Many viewers began to question not only what they were watching, but whether they should be watching it at all. Netflix, however, firmly denied these claims. Director Alexandria Stapleton stated that all footage used in the documentary was obtained legally and with proper authorization. She emphasized that the production team took extensive measures to ensure everything was handled correctly, especially given the sensitive nature of the material. Stapleton also explained that they worked hard to protect the identity of the filmmaker, who provided the footage, acknowledging the risks involved. Stapleton further addressed the idea that the footage's existence was unusual. According to her, Combs had a long-standing habit of filming himself, documenting his life continuously over several decades. In that context, the presence of large amounts of unseen footage was not surprising. She also revealed that the documentary team reached out multiple times to Combs' legal representatives to request comment or participation, but received no response. After repeated attempts, they ultimately moved forward without his input. The involvement of 50 Cent as an executive producer adds another layer of tension to the project. His relationship with Combs has been complicated and publicly hostile for years. Although the two collaborated earlier in their careers, their rivalry eventually became well-known and deeply personal. When 50 Cent first announced the documentary in December 2023, shortly after multiple civil lawsuits were filed against Combs, his statement went viral. he made it clear that the project would not shy away from difficult truths, and that proceeds would support victims of sexual abuse. Originally titled Did He Do It?, the project was later renamed Shawn Combs: The Reckoning, a change that reflected a more serious and confrontational approach. Netflix reportedly secured the documentary through a competitive bidding war in May 2024, signaling massive interest even before production was complete. By the time the official trailer dropped on December 1, 2025, anticipation had already reached a boiling point. The trailer itself fueled even more discussion. It opened with audio of Combs on a phone call just days before his arrest, his voice tense and uneasy. The visuals cut between moments from his career, footage connected to the 2025 trial, and scenes from parties and public appearances. A voiceover speaks about how life is shaped by both good and bad people, and how viewers must decide what they believe as the story unfolds. Within hours, the trailer pushed the documentary into trending topics across multiple platforms. Beyond the footage, the documentary gains much of its strength from the interviews it includes. Former Bad Boy artists and employees such as Aubrey O'Day, Don Richard, Mark Curry, and Kirk Burroughs offer first-hand accounts of their experiences inside Combs' world. Their testimonies add emotional weight and provide insight into how power functioned behind the scenes. Early accuser Joy Dickerson Neal also appears, offering one of the most serious and sobering perspectives in the series. The inclusion of jurors from the 2025 federal trial adds another unique dimension. Hearing directly from those who participated in the legal process gives viewers a clearer understanding of how evidence was weighed and decisions were made. Additional interviews with industry insiders and individuals who crossed paths with Combs over the years help build a fuller picture of his influence and reputation. Legally, the documentary follows events closely. It outlines how federal agents arrested Combs in September 2024 and how the trial unfolded over the following year. In July 2025, a jury acquitted him of racketeering and sex trafficking charges but found him guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. By October 2025, he was sentenced to 50 months in prison and began serving his time at FCI Fort Dixon, New Jersey. Presenting these facts in a clear timeline grounds the documentary in reality and avoids speculation. Once the series became available to stream, social media reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Hashtags related to the documentary trended within hours. Viewers shared clips, debated the ethics of the footage, and argued over whether the series represented accountability or exploitation. Some praised Netflix for tackling a difficult subject head-on, while others criticized the project as biased or driven by personal vendettas. Despite the divided opinions, one thing became clear: Shawn Combs, The Reckoning was impossible to ignore. The combination of unseen footage, legal controversy, powerful interviews, and high-profile names turned it into more than just a documentary. It became a cultural event that forced uncomfortable conversations about fame, power, privacy, and responsibility. As the discussion around the documentary continued to grow, many viewers began to look beyond the specific case of Shawn Combs and started questioning the larger systems that protect powerful figures. Commentators and media analysts pointed out that this story feels familiar because it reflects patterns seen repeatedly across the entertainment industry. Fame, money, and influence often create environments where accountability is delayed or avoided altogether. The Reckoning taps into that uncomfortable reality, forcing audiences to confront how easily power can shield misconduct. Another reason the series resonated so strongly is its timing. Released at a moment when public trust in powerful institutions is already fragile, the documentary feels like part of a broader cultural shift. Viewers are no longer satisfied with carefully crafted public statements or polished apologies. They want transparency, evidence, and real consequences. In that sense, the documentary does not exist in isolation. It connects to a wider demand for truth and responsibility in industries that have long operated behind closed doors. Critics of the series argue that it blurs the line between journalism and entertainment. They question whether Netflix, as a streaming platform, is the right place for stories involving such serious allegations. Supporters, however, counter that the platform's reach is precisely what makes the documentary powerful. By presenting the story to a global audience, the series ensures that these conversations cannot be easily dismissed or buried. The emotional weight of the documentary also comes from what it chooses not to show. There are moments where the camera lingers in silence, allowing viewers to absorb the gravity of what has been revealed. These pauses feel intentional, reminding the audience that some experiences cannot be fully explained through words or images alone. This restraint sets the series apart from more sensationalized true crime projects. As days passed after the release, the documentary's influence continued to spread. Podcasts dedicated full episodes to analyzing specific scenes. Legal experts broke down courtroom details for wider audiences. Former industry insiders shared their own experiences, inspired by the courage of those who spoke on camera. In this way, The Reckoning extended beyond Netflix and became part of an ongoing public dialogue. What ultimately makes this series so impactful is its refusal to offer easy answers. It does not tell viewers what to think, nor does it frame itself as the final word on Shawn Combs' legacy. Instead, it presents information, testimony, and context, leaving audiences to wrestle with their own conclusions. This approach can feel unsettling, but it also respects the intelligence of the viewer. By continuing to spark debate long after its release, Shawn Combs' The Reckoning proves that documentaries can still play a powerful role in shaping cultural conversations, whether seen as an expose, a warning, or a reflection of deeper industry problems. The series has ensured that the story will not fade quietly into the background. The questions it raises remain open, and the impact of those questions is likely to be felt for a long time. In the end, Shawn Combs' The Reckoning is not just about one man's rise and fall. It is about a system that allows power to grow unchecked, about an industry that often confuses success with silence, and about how long uncomfortable truths can remain hidden when influence is strong enough. The documentary forces viewers to confront the idea that fame does not exist in isolation. It is built and protected by structures that benefit from looking the other way. What makes this series especially unsettling is how ordinary some of its most disturbing moments feel. There are no dramatic sound effects or exaggerated visuals. Instead, there are quiet rooms, tense conversations, and small gestures that reveal far more than words ever could. These moments remind viewers that real-life power rarely announces itself loudly. It operates subtly, behind closed doors, until it no longer can. As the final episode fades out, the documentary leaves audiences with a lingering sense of discomfort rather than closure. There is no neat resolution, no satisfying conclusion that wraps everything up. Instead, viewers are left with questions about responsibility, justice, and complicity. Who knew what and when? How many people stayed silent to protect their careers? And how many similar stories have never come to light? Ultimately, Shawn Combs' The Reckoning stands as a reminder that stories like this are never just about the past. They shape how the future is understood. Whether the series is remembered as a cultural turning point or a controversial expose, its impact is undeniable. The conversation it has started will continue long after the credits roll, proving that some reckonings do not end, they only begin. In its closing stretch, Shawn Combs' The Reckoning stops trying to explain events and instead invites viewers to sit with their weight. The documentary no longer focuses on timelines or evidence alone, but on the deeper cost of unchecked power. What remains is not shock, but reflection, a sense that this story could not have happened in isolation, and that its consequences reach far beyond one individual. The series quietly exposes how fame can distort reality. When success grows large enough, it begins to rewrite rules. People stop asking difficult questions. Lines blur. Behavior that would never be tolerated elsewhere becomes normalized, excused, or hidden. The documentary suggests that this erosion does not happen overnight. It happens slowly, through small compromises, quiet agreements, and the belief that protecting success is more important than confronting truth. As the final images unfold, there is a noticeable absence of triumph or resolution. No one wins in this story. Careers are damaged, trust is broken, and lives are permanently altered. The documentary refuses to turn pain into spectacle. Instead, it reminds viewers that real harm does not end when a trial concludes or a sentence is handed down. The emotional and psychological impact lingers, often long after public attention fades. The most unsettling realization is how familiar this pattern feels. Viewers are left to wonder how many similar stories remain untold, buried beneath contracts, influence, and fear. How many people stayed silent because speaking out felt impossible? How many institutions benefited from not knowing too much? These questions remain unanswered, hanging in the air as the screen fades to black. In its final moments, The Reckoning shifts the focus outward. It challenges audiences to reflect on their own role in the culture of celebrity. The documentary suggests that accountability does not begin and end with the accused. It extends to industries, platforms, and even audiences that reward power without demanding responsibility. Silence, the series implies, is not neutral. It shapes outcomes just as much as action. The closing message is not one of closure, but of awareness. The story does not claim to define Shawn Combs forever, nor does it pretend to capture every truth. Instead, it offers something more honest, a reminder that reckoning is a process, not a moment. It unfolds over time through listening, questioning, and refusing to look away. As the credits roll, viewers are left with a lingering discomfort. Not because the story is incomplete, but because it feels uncomfortably real. Shawn Combs, The Reckoning ends by making one thing clear: some stories do not end when the screen goes dark. They continue in conversations, in accountability, and in the choices people make when power is tested. And in that sense, this reckoning is not over. It has only begun.